we're in a very different time now, and I think there's three things that you need to succeed as a creator. Talent, obviously, a team, and TikTok right now. Those three things.
So welcome everybody, thank you for coming. This is Arab Wave 2.0. My name is Yassin. I'm commonly known as Narcy or Yassin, depends how you know me. I think I don't want to introduce you guys, I'd rather you introduce yourself, so individually please do so.
My name is Nouriyah. I'm an international DJ, audio producer, and curator of Middle of Nowhere.
Very nice. I'm Nourah Alammary, better known as Nourah Sings. I am a strategist and a singer-songwriter.
And I'm Saint Levant, artist.
Amazing. So, it's my pleasure to be on this panel with all three of you. I've been witnessing your journey for a while now, and people say that I am part of Arab Wave 1.0, if not Arab Wave 0.0. So, there's a lot of issues that we encountered as the first generation of, I was an MC, and I'm still an MC and a producer, but also became a bit of a consultant in the background about 10 years into my career. And we were a generation that started off the internet. We were selling CDs hand to hand in the beginning, and we witnessed 3 different changes in the music industry as we were embarking on it. And I had the distinct pleasure of being in North America, dealing with like the 9/11 era and countering that with our music, narrative-wise. So we had a very uphill battle that we encountered, which I'm sure you guys have an uphill battle as well. So I want to kind of speak about those difficulties, but also the eases that you might be facing being artists in the digital era and the information era. So thank you for being on this panel, first of all. I know you all personally, so it's a bit like, I'm going to break the ice right now. I want to start with you, Nooriyah. You're somebody that's had a couple of moments online that have gone viral, but I know that you've been at it for a while. Can you tell me about the early days of, why did you start DJing? What was your intention when you first started?
Yeah, I just remember being with my dad in the car, and he's driving, right? This is back in Saudi, in Sharqiyya. And I used to listen to radio with him and think that people who are on radio are in Mars. I'm like, how do people access radio? Like, where is this wavelength? Yes, yeah. Exactly. And then I remember when we went to London, I was asked to do a few voiceovers. By the way, I come from a medical background, so completely different to music.
What medical background?
So public health specialism. And so I remember when COVID hit, my dad called me and he's like, it's your time to shine. But
DJ and doctor.
DJ and doctor. But I just remember being asked to do some voiceovers, like, good morning, you're listening to Radar Radio. Like, it would be like that. But I remember seeing the decks. And when I was younger, I used to love pretending that I'm a cashier and pressing buttons. And I was like, I need to learn how to play. This was about 8 years ago. And I always loved music and finding out new artists before everybody on SoundCloud. Like, all the SoundCloud rappers, I had them on deck before they came out. And started practicing and just went from there.
And your family was supportive?
No.
They weren't?
I mean, they at the beginning, I think to them it didn't make sense because they had such a barrier as to what being a DJ is. Like, there's a lot of fear around it because of what club culture to their eyes was.
What year was this when you started?
What's 8 years ago in maths?
8 years ago?
6,
what year is it, right? What day is it?
2014.
2014?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I want to get back to your journey, but I kind of want to run the first question with everybody. Noorah, tell me a bit about your path. I know you grew up here in Saudi, and this is new. It's relatively new, the opening of spaces for you to be able to perform publicly,
Yeah.
Can you tell me what the early days and when you started, and what was the vibe like for you?
So it's funny when someone asks me this question, they're always like, how did you start? And it's like with music, I don't actually remember when I started singing. I think I sang before I spoke. And I think my sister can attest to that. But singing publicly, if we want to call it publicly, started out in compounds. And it wasn't for, like, if I didn't have my friend Sean, who we used to jam at home together, pushing me to do it, I wouldn't have done it. I started off in Al Bustan compound here in Riyadh. And I just saw everyone's reaction to it. They're just like, oh, this is amazing. But in the background, I distinctly remember a conversation with my dad when I sort of got offered a scholarship to study opera in Italy. And he was like, ما عندنا بنات يغنون. Like, that's just not okay. You're not in that family where it's okay for women to sing.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Instagram, I don't think I would have had the courage to post some of our footage and just go public in 2019. And it just coincided with the General Entertainment Authority giving out permits for public performances. And I just had the guts to just, okay, let's
When was your first show?
January 2019
wow.
at Seven Moons.
Right before the pandemic hit.
Yes, so I had like a brilliant like influx of like just gig after gig after gig, and I had a lot of family members that were resistant to it because it was just so taboo or shameful that I was singing in restaurants. But in actuality, there weren't any venues, and it was practice for me. I loved that I was able to do public performances and learn. Every performance, I learned something else. Amazing. So you can say, 84, 2016 underground, 2019 publicly.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Marwan, I've known you for a couple of years now, and we've had a lot of behind-the-scenes conversations about what you may have been doing or what you were going through, and you've always reached out to OGs to kind of talk to them about path or direction or what you might be going through. So tell me a bit about your early days when you decided you wanted to become an artist and a writer.
First of all, thank you guys for being here, really. I appreciate it. Thank you, Narcy. Thank you, XP. I decided to become an artist last year, a year ago exactly. And I had been making music for a really long time in high school. I started, first song I ever made was a diss track.
We all do that, by the way. That's like sometimes you either
to.
diss yourself or you diss somebody else. You know?
I was gonna get expelled from school, tu te rappelles? It was insane, yeah. Anyways, last year though, I was, 2 years ago during the pandemic, I was running a startup where we were connecting Palestinian entrepreneurs to Palestinians in the diaspora for investment purposes. And I was just doing a lot of economic development work, being 19, speaking with the World Bank. And then I was like, bro, like, relax. You're 19, you can do this later. But the music, probably not, So I made a decision last year. I got my own apartment. I was living with 11 guys. One of them is right there. It was kind of intense. Moved out, got my own little home studio and started making music every day. And now we're at XP in Saudi Arabia. It's insane.
Yeah, it's amazing. Nooriyah, you had a couple viral moments over the course of the last couple of years, including one that was very recent with your Boiler Room event.
Which hasn't even dropped.
Which hasn't even dropped. The Boiler Room dropping soon, you feel me?
Legend.
What I want to ask all three of you, and you can each kind of answer this differently, is there's real life and then there's digital life, right? And they both kind of feed into each other in a very strange way. Like in real life, things can feel like they're moving kind of slow, but on the internet, you might get traction on something that you've done, and it gets overwhelming when you walk out the door, or it makes you want to leave the internet and just focus on your real life, right? So how do you balance the creative process that you guys are in with having these strategic moments? Sometimes it's not even strategic, it just happens out of your control. And how do you not let it affect your creativity? What do you do to escape the pressures of being on the internet?
I think that's still a question that I'm trying to answer for myself. It's a balance that takes a very long time to figure out what works for you, but what's on top of that is that social media is always changing and you also have to be adaptive, and that's the issue. Like, the minute I feel like I have a good balance, things shift.
Yeah.
And you just have to adapt. But I think what I have in my head and what motivates me is that I know that doing this can be important to what I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And that's the motivator, and that's where I find the balance for me.
Amazing.
Tough question. So I think for me, social media has had its blessings and its curses. Like, in terms of blessings, it's a platform that launched my musical career. In times of COVID, I feel like it improved my performance. Like just seeing myself on live and noticing how I emote things changed how I perform.
Yeah.
But then the curse is the comparison, the pressure to continue to post. Oh my God, everyone else is doing this. This person has more numbers. So it gets to your head. So I think to balance that out, I try to disconnect and I try to have, positive affirmations of, you do you. You can do this. Just keep being yourself, And I think it's great that it's connecting people like us. So I mean,
absolutely.
It's about balancing out and figuring out when to walk away and when to come back to it.
Absolutely. Marwan?
You're
having a moment right now, like live.
Alhamdulillah, yeah.
Alhamdulillah. And I know you have a regimen, so maybe you could share with us kind of your process.
Yeah. So I use social media 1 hour a day. It's like scheduled in my Google Calendar from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. I use it as a creator, not as a consumer. I consume a bit, but talking about mental health, I go to therapy. I've been going to therapy for a long time. It's fire. It's recommend 10 out of 10.
Therapy
It's
is fire.
Fuck, yeah.
Quote that.
And
It's for real. That's a t-shirt.
So I use it 1 hour a day because of the comparison, and I've been working on myself to try and not do that. But it's as if, when people are, shout out TikTok, I know there's some people, but not being on TikTok or not being on, Instagram is as if, we were in Narcy's shoes when he was starting and not selling CDs. Like, it's mad if you're not on TikTok.
Yeah.
It's just you're shooting yourself in the foot for no reason.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to be the biggest artist in the world, right? So I'm going to obviously be on TikTok. But I use it 1 hour a day. That's the secret, to be honest. Because then you post, you get off, and then you get your dopamine all at once, as opposed to throughout the day, and it's just, it's unhealthy, man, to scroll the whole day and stuff, so
I've kind of been doing that this month in November.
Doing a regimented schedule?
No, not like that, but more like creating a routine of mood of the day and picking a song that's like inspiring or setting the tone for my day and trying to educate my audience of like old school music.
Nice.
So it's like a triple play mood of the day thing. So yeah, I get it.
I really recommend it for creators. Like, use social media very strategically. Maybe not 1 hour, maybe 2 hours, but don't check you post and get off, man. Khalas, check the next day, wallah. It's better.
What this brought to mind for me is how much I separate my personal life and the online life completely. I'm just that's just
Is that a conscious thing or?
It's just an innate thing for me. I'm just that's my real world, and then this is just a tool.
Yeah.
I look at it as a tool, nothing else, nothing. Yeah.
I had the experience of my motherland being at, or people being at war with my motherland when I started as a musician, as a solo artist. The Iraq war had just kind of reached its third, fourth year. And having witnessed the mediatization of my people and witnessed a lot of death for the first time, it really affected my artwork because as I was studying communication studies at university and learning how to process media, I was in the studio at night recording, so all those thoughts and those feelings were going into my music, and we would perform at festivals, ADC conferences, political rallies, whatever it might be in Canada and in the States, and it was like therapy for us, But at the same time, the reaction to it was not something we could equate to. We couldn't see the reaction to it. It was very organic, which was a blessing at the time because I think the added pressure of seeing how people felt, it would have changed our direction. But one thing that it taught me at a young age was intention behind my work. I knew that I was one of the only Iraqi voices out of North America, and I knew that I had as many people as might have been listening or not listening, I knew I had a purpose, It gave me a sense of purpose and direction, as difficult as it was. Mm-hmm. So with you guys, is there an intention that you've set for yourself in your work as a short-term goal and a long-term goal, outside of being a well-known artist? What is your cultural intention with your work? Any of you can go first.
I think I'm ready. So when I first started, I think the intention was first for me to put myself out there, but then it was also to normalize pursuing your passion, no matter what it was, whether it was singing or painting or cooking or whatever it was. I wanted Saudis to feel inspired to pursue whatever like they wanted to. But I feel like since singing has become normalized and you see more women standing on stage and being part of bands, the new drive is to fix the industry or like address the infrastructure issues. So before coming here, I actually asked the question and asked live performers, because those are my people, that's who I'm representing, what they feel is missing, and I got a lot of insight. And I feel like since my brother is part of Middle Beast, that's a stakeholder.
Look at that, perfect timing. only Baloo can do it, perfect timing.
So yeah, since I have like stakeholders, I have their ear, I want them to hear what are the things that we struggle day to day, and so that's my drive now, aside from creating music.
Amazing,
yeah.
Amazing. Marwan?
For me, I don't like to, there's very specific things I want to do, but I don't really like to talk about them publicly. But what I do want to do is what Bad Bunny did for Puerto Rico, what Burna Boy did for Nigeria, what Drake did for Toronto. But I studied international relations and political science, and it's deeper than just like tourism money and stuff like that. We really want to do a lot of economic and political work in Palestine.
Palestine.
Yeah,
Nice.
in Palestine. So that's what I want.
Amazing.
Short term, I'm someone who can't sleep if I don't know how to do something. So I kind of harp on something. So at the moment, I'm making Ableton my best friend. So short term, I'm trying to just produce and create my EP. And then eventually have an album. And I just love that being an artist includes all sorts of creative aspects. And to me, it's like the perfect, center point. But culturally, I feel like what I'm doing right now in terms of middle of nowhere with curating parties and the DJing, my DJing is so parallel to my identity, and this is something that I don't see much. Like even when I come to Saudi, I see a lot of electronic music being played rather than a lot of the rich culture and sounds that we have, and I love representing those. But at the same time, there's kind of it's a catch-20 because the music is so attached to my identity. The friction that happens is a little bit different. So breaking those walls is like kind of the cultural.
The long-term
goal.
Yeah. How do you guys value independence
Big
as
time.
artists? Because you know how much I value independence. So
Independence in terms of partnering. Partners are important, but my conversation, me and Madik, he's right there, my manager. Our question is always when people, because a lot of people have been talking to us recently. Our question is, what can you do for us that we can't do ourselves? And usually the answer is nothing. So
yeah. So it's important.
I think I was independent by design, by how the market is designed. I've tried to sign with people to represent me, but that's fallen through. I don't want to be bitter. I want to be better.
Don't be bitter.
That's the truth. Literally by accident, I'm independent. I'm open to being signed to a record label, but I still want that freedom to have my own image, to not be curated to fit what the market resonates with. Like, I know I'm a rebel, I'm a burner, I'm not gonna, fit this mold.
Yeah.
So, that's my answer.
After Boiler Room, do you know how many people hit me up to manage me with these like flowery emails? We're gonna get you on international billboards. They just make it all shiny. But I don't know, your independence is huge, and even though it's a huge burden kind of managing your own tours and things like that, but there's a sweetness in it that I'll never take for granted unless the right thing comes along.
Yeah, I think, for us, for our generation, it was very difficult to get inside offices. Like I said, we were at a very politicized time for Arabs. So in North America, specifically, we were in the diaspora. It wasn't really our narrative was not invited into the room. Right now, we're seeing TV shows by Arab comedians or films that are kind of garnering international attention. So people are very interested in our stories more than ever. And last year, specifically with Palestine, we kind of broke the mold around narrative and public presentation of our stories being so diverse, right? So I think independence is very valuable this generation, more than our generation, because we were chasing chasing record deals until we realized that actually our value is in our crew, in our people, in our teams. So, you know, with you, Marwan specifically, I know that you're building a tight-knit crew of homies around you to grow together.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about the importance of that for you in the process?
Yeah, we're in a very different time now, and I think there's three things that you need to succeed as a creator. Talent, obviously, a team, and TikTok right now. Those three. And it's, you know, people will come to you, like people in Nouriyah, let's put you on an international billboard. Why? Like, why do you know what I mean? It's, but we're building a team. I like to build things, and I'm down to like be in the mud, and you know what I mean? Like I have my whole fucking, I have my whole team here. So sorry. I have my whole team, and it just tastes so much better when it's your own people. And you know, we're down to partner and stuff, but I'm building this. It's us, you know. We are building it all in-house. It's like OVO, you know. They built everything, and we're doing the same thing, but it's gonna be bigger, to be honest.
Do you guys have team members that help you kind of process content, or is it all really like an individual thing?
I mean, my sister was my first videographer for the first year. But no, I was doing most of the posting and the stuff online. And then Sean, who's part of the duo, was helping me with booking gigs and everything. But I see myself to go forward to find that right like ecosystem or team. And I don't think I can do it independently forever, honestly.
You wanna add?
I was gonna say, I didn't have anyone 6 months ago.
Yeah, I know.
You know, I didn't have a manager, but consistency will attract people, and then you get to kind of pick.
So you guys didn't know each other 6 months ago?
No,
or you knew each other personally?
No. I met this man in now like he's
I mean,
literally
look at
my
him.
brother.
What a hard worker, sending emails right now.
No, I didn't know anyone, and it was just me and Henry, by the way. Henry, my producer, right there. We're in the
Big
Gucci.
up, Henry,
yeah,
man.
what a guy, wallahi. It was just me and him every single day in the studio, and I was like, my strategy last year when I decided I'm gonna be an artist, it was I'm gonna post 2 songs a month for a year and just see what happens, and then you start attracting people and you get to kind of pick and choose. And now my team has a creative director, a manager, a producer, a videographer. Shout out Diego as well. We have a stylist now. We have, you know, it's growing, and it's because I was down to just do it myself and kind of struggle through that at first. Yeah. But then you attract people because they're attracted to what you're building, and I don't want to call myself a visionary, but like I have a vision for myself, and you know, people are attracted to that. So what I would suggest is just to do it yourself and then attract people, but also don't get excited. You know, we always try to take a week at least before, you know, when you have a little like an offer or something, relax. You know.
That's good.
Yeah, one of the best pieces of advice that I got from one of my OGs in the music game was manage your expectations, not your opportunities. So when you hop in rooms and people are super excited about your work, you have to keep it grounded in reality, which is good when you have good people around you, you know? Can you tell me about the people that are around you that are kind of helping you?
I actually had the opposite experience of everybody on this panel. I started with a collective, it was like a magazine, and I didn't enjoy the experience. I think a lot of people shy away from talking about the difficulties of working, especially with friends. A lot of stuff can happen. And what I do now with Middle of Nowhere especially, I run ship myself, and then people kind of weave in and out, but in such an organic way. Yeah, and I love that. I love that, because the way that you get to work with different people with their strengths as well. Like, for example, Abdulazim is right there. He just comes in whenever. And
shout out to Rockefeller.
No, exactly. And he just, when you connect with people, when they see what you do and they connect with it in such a deep way, they'll show up. Yeah. I'm a huge believer of that, and that's how I
mean, as a DJ, you're kind of a voice piece for everybody, right? Like you're a connector. You might play something at a party that somebody's never heard, and it opened their hearts and their eyes to that artist's work, and then that artist becomes bigger and bigger. But as an artist, what's your vision for yourself as a producer? Because I know you're a producer as well.
Yeah.
What are you trying to do as Nooriyah as a producer? You know.
You'll see. All I have to say is that you're gonna be like this.
No, I'm already like that, so I'm like extra scrunch face. I'm very interested in your creative process. each of you. And you don't have to, you can be as generous as you want in sharing your work. When I was at Concordia making music, I learned how to mix, I learned how to produce, I learned how to record my own vocals so that I didn't have to rely on too many people. It's almost like I knew that I would be able to do that in this era where I can move around and record myself anywhere and send my producers my stems or whatever. Can you guys tell me a bit about your creative process? And whoever wants to start, I know that you were saying you were recording every day, but what is you and your producers kind of?
Yeah, it's very simple. So that man, the red Gucci, we sit down and we just make a song.
Henry Styles?
He's my executive producer. Yeah, I work with him and we just sit down, and we've been doing it for 2 years, and I wouldn't be here without him alone.
And do you collaborate with other producers or at the moment?
Yeah, we've started to, but I like him more than. No, but we'll go into. I have to take him everywhere with me, kind of. It's kind of like a Drake and 40 situation, you know what I mean? But we work. I mean, we're gonna work. Like I'll work with whoever, but he kind of has to be in the room, you know.
I think it depends on whether I'm doing a cover or an original. Like with covers, one song suddenly clicks, and then I start listening to it obsessively on repeat.
Until you learn it.
Until I learn it, and then do my own thing with it. But with originals, I noticed that sometimes I just write a lyric and have no idea where it's going, and then meet up with a friend who has a melody, and then suddenly I sing that with it, and then just magic happens. So it depends.
I'm so happy you asked this question. I need to demystify some stuff about DJs. Because all the time people think that, they're just pressing buttons and playing a playlist.
No, it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. You need to be digging out here. You need to have your crates ready.
Yeah.
And then if you want, it depends on the gig. Like, for example, Boiler Room. It's my life story. When it drops, you'll see. Like, for example, I played Teriyaki Boys Tokyo Drift because I lived in Japan, right? So, like, everything is... You can make it a story. It's like a form of expression, and I feel like people underestimate the time that goes into that. But then for production, oh my gosh, I can dig for sound samples for 50 years.
What do you produce on?
Ableton.
Ableton.
Oh,
Yes, Ableton. Let's go. Same.
I've had the distinct experience of being in the underground, but also knowing people in the middle ground, and then knowing people at the highest level of the industry. And I think that came to me from being a professor at university, and people respecting the fact that I aligned my art with education at all times. And I was able to pull somebody like 40 into my class, or pull somebody like Talib Kweli into my class, and be amongst people like Chappelle or Mos Def or A Tribe Called Red or whoever it might be, and see not only the groundwork that these artists put into their careers, but the perils of becoming bigger and bigger. I really believe that humans aren't supposed to be idols, and not because of their behavior, but because it's not meant to be. We're not meant to be idolized as people. The visual nature of the music industry outside of the artwork is a very dangerous place for a person to exist. We could see what it did to somebody like Kanye. We could see what it did to somebody like Drake. It'll isolate you. The bigger you get, the more isolated you get. So in the attempt to grow your careers, and I have no doubt that all three of you are going to make a major noise in your own right. What are you doing to protect yourself when you get to that level? Are you thinking about that level? I'm sure you're thinking about that level.
I go to therapy. It's simple. Just go to therapy and talk to my mom. She keeps me very grounded.
Moms will always keep you grounded.
Yeah, never believe your own hype, you know?
Yeah.
I think first and foremost, my family and friends keep me grounded, but also the shitty gigs. The gigs where there's no one there, they just keep you humble. You didn't chill. You just have a nice voice, you're good. So I think those incidents are actually growing opportunities.
There's actually a lot of psychological papers on what you just said.
Yeah, I know.
The brain
I just researched them for my class.
100%. The brain literally can't compute these numbers at all.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, I see this as two different worlds. It's very healthy for me to do that.
Separate them.
Yeah. yeah, this is my personal life. These are my loved ones. This is the food that I love to eat at mom's house. Like this is my job.
There's a physical experience to being a musician and an artist, and then there's a spiritual experience. And when you burn out physically, you have to lean on your spirit. And when you burn out spiritually, you have to lean on your physical. And you know, we all come from very spiritual places. Our cultures are all ancient cultures. You know, our ancestors shaped the world. So in the duty of being from Palestine, from Saudi, or from Iraq, you know, I think we are tapping into something that's way bigger than us, that we might not be aware of in the moment. Besides making your community proud, you know, where do you want to take Saudi on an international level as a voice, or Palestine, you know, besides humanizing people? What is the core importance of your culture that you want to share? With me, with Iraqis, we're funny as hell, despite all the difficulty that we went through. That's why you always see comedy in my work, and that we have this rich musical background that nobody pays attention to, that I always infused into my work. So with you guys, what is it specifically for your countries?
Me personally, I look at everything in sound. So for example, our ears are actually conditioned to enjoy certain things that we listen to all the time. And this is the thing that I noticed in Saudi about how there's a big electronic scene, and it's like a little bit westernized from what I can see. So it's actually more insidious than you think, because even on Ableton, for example, and all softwares where you produce music, it's much harder to play in scales outside of the Western scale.
Yeah, of course.
And you have to use all these plugins in order to get kind of the
get
traditional,
like quarter tones.
microtones and everything like that. So to me, the aim is to make those sounds, like our traditional sounds, something that are enjoyed globally. Because they deserve a seat in the table to me. I'm like, just
Absolutely.
as Amapiano now is making a huge buzz, just as Afrobeats, we deserve it. I think our sounds are infectious. And to me, I look at it sound-based. I work in sound.
It's hard to top that, but
I think, but sorry to cut you off, but I think you, out of all of us, you know, you have a very specific moment in history right now, because you're in Saudi, because your brother is part of this bigger movement that's occurring right now with Middle East and with the changing environment, and also the fact that the floodgates are opening and it's just coming through. There's not only is there opportunity, there's responsibility in it as well that nobody else in the region has had yet. So so I mean.
So the thing is, I think I'm coming at it as both a strategist and a singer.
Yeah, which is great.
So I'm like very strategic in my moves, but like I think there's a lot of criticism because I sing in English and not in Arabic. But I actually recently started to learn.
I still face that criticism, so just
I'm
take
sorry.
that, put it on your back.
So I recently started learning how to sing in Arabic and just learning the scales or maqamat, because it's another universe. Even the way they use their vocal cords.
Yeah.
The fact that they use their head voice to breathe as opposed to their chest voice. I was trained in classical opera, and that technique is very different. But I think I want to show the rest of the world. First of all, I don't want to be stuck on impressing everyone else. I just want to be. And then the second thing is I want to show people that we have such a rich like culture, and it's diverse, and not all Saudis look the same. They always think I'm from some other place. And I just want to share that message that we're diverse, but we're also similar to the rest of the world. Music moves us all the same way.
Amazing. Young.
Honestly, I just want to work with my friends and see them shine. Bayu just got here. That's my brother. He's also next. This guy's amazing. Yeah. I just want to work with my friends and see everyone shine, to be honest.
I want to open up the floor in about a minute. But I'd love to know, my last question would be, you know, what's your next year looking like? And I know you kind of have no control over what comes your way, but are you preparing something to release, or, you know, what's your next year looking like?
It's looking like I'm gonna have a lot of eye bags. That's what it's looking like.
No sleeve.
No sleeve. I'm taking Middle of Nowhere on tour, so the party's gonna go on tour, which I'm excited about.
Amazing.
And working on the music, and also hugging my mom more, hopefully. I didn't do that enough this year.
I think moving away from the cover universe and going into originals.
Nice.
I've been meeting a lot of local musicians that are excited to create, and I think it took me a while to get here because I'm a late bloomer. And I think now I know the sound that I want to create, and it's somewhere in the jazz, funk, soul world, so something like that.
For us, it's looking like a takeover this year. Wallahi.
Listen, before I open it up, I want to say, just remember along your path that they need you, you don't need them. That's a very important fact that you have to remember. You know, you are the creator, and without the creator of the art, there is no industry. It's not the other way around. So big up yourselves.
Talent, and TikTok. Wallahi, that's all you need. All you need.
Don't worry about TikTok. I'm not trying to offend them. I know they're in the room. Shout out to TikTok. So I want to open up the last 10 minutes to the floor. I know people might have questions for. Do we have an extra mic for the audience? Yeah, let's start up here up front. Where is TikTok? Is that TikTok?
Yes.
Hey guys, sorry, no offense.
Thought it. His name is Thought It.
Me and corporate entities, we have a very complicated relationship. But
No, we'll fix it. We'll fix it. So you guys, all three of you have obviously broken barriers, have like kind of contributed to culture a lot, but something we talk about a lot nowadays, at least people my age, younger, your age, is third culture. So, like you said about the English and Arabic and people criticizing, which is completely senseless, I don't get it, but it is what it is. So as agents of third culture, sorry, I wrote the question down. Do you see or hear fans in the Middle East relating to it more than ever nowadays? Because I hear it a lot, but I want to hear from an artist perspective, like from each of you or whoever wants to contribute. What's third culture and how do you feel like
it's your people's, man. Let's
you're
go.
impacting?
Well, so I come from a French, Algerian, Palestinian, Serbian background. Shout out my parents. And so, you know, third culture is something that, honestly, I make music in English, Arabic, and French. And it was not a conscious thing. It's just kind of how I speak. That's why I love Lebanon so much. And I see a lot of people are like, yo, this is actually how we talk, and I appreciate it. And so just by being ourselves, I think we're kind of, right? It's like we're just being ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I like this answer.
Yeah, I think it's a natural way of being now. It's not even a question.
Yeah.
Right? Anybody else have
Any
a
other
question?
questions?
Yeah, over there. You had a question? Yeah, please, go ahead.
Hi, thank you for your time, first of all. My name is Noor. I'm also an artist. I'm from Lebanon. And I kind of have two questions. First of all, Nourah, you spoke about having day-to-day struggles being an artist, and I would like to hear your point of view on that note, if you don't mind sharing, because I really want to see.
We don't have enough time for this.
Yeah.
Just
Talk to me outside.
Okay, we'll do that.
لا بس I will. In short, it's hard to secure a talent manager, a booking agent. I posted something on my story of like a healthy musical ecosystem. And it's just me in the middle with like a bunch of flaky things on the side that are just like wobbly and like you can never catch them. So that's one of the biggest things. I am a singer-songwriter, but I don't compose, I don't produce. فماني قادرة أصفق لحالي يعني. So yeah, that's the day-to-day struggle. And then there are no venues. So like, how am I supposed to reach my audience? Where am I supposed to sing? I can't do restaurants forever. I need to evolve at some point. So those are like, in short, my issues.
My last question, Marwan, when you guys were talking about being independent, I really support your answer, but sometimes I look at the bigger picture and I see a lot of, if not most, international successful artists are not independent, you know, so...
Bad Bunny is independent. That's my like vision for myself, right? I think, yeah, you're right, but a lot of the biggest artists are not coming up in 2022 right now.
Yeah.
And I think it's very different right now. And hopefully I'll be able to be I'll be able to be an example because I think you don't have to be independent. But I just like building from the ground up. You know, you can find a partner and you can give away 85% if you want. But I would rather do it with my boys and keep 100. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is over there. You got two people on this side.
In the back first now.
just curious, how important is a global audience to you guys? I mean, you mentioned TikTok, of course, and I'm curious for the US audience or the UK audience or the regional audience. Like, do you tend to focus predominantly on a regional audience, or do you also look at the global audience?
Me?
Me?
I don't use TikTok, so you.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm based in Los Angeles. So when I post on TikTok, it reaches an American algorithm. And a little hack, you guys can just get someone to post your TikToks in America if you want, and then it'll reach, if that's what you're trying to do, right? So there's ways around it. But so yeah, for me, it's mainly the West, but then it trickles down to here, actually.
Right, I guess I was curious in terms of your growth as an artist and your reach. Do you see growing in the US as being a main target for you?
The US is my biggest territory. Yeah.
My demographic is the UK and the Middle East mostly. And also I'm less kind of tactical about it. I just post things and go.
It's just too fire.
Too natural, Nooriyah.
Just need to worry about those things.
Someone else had a question in the front? Yeah, and then that lady right there. Yeah.
What's Arab Wave 3.0? Will it just be Wave at some point? Will it always just be Arab
I think
Wave?
it's probably like 3D characters that are rapping algorithmically.
We're working on it.
Yeah, no, I think this is the beginning of the big tsunami, bro. You know, in my opinion, I think we didn't choose the title necessarily, but
I was about to say.
listen, I'm very picky with titles. Okay, but I think the reason is that we are entering like the 20th year of music coming out of our community from a young generation. So that's why the 2.0. But I think as you go from here, it's up to the creative. It's not up to the industry anymore. So
I think you're seeing the new wave here. I mean, yesterday there was Garwasha. Check out the Warehouse. They have an amazing band there. Like, you see it already coming up.
absolutely.
Hi guys, first of all, thank you so much for this. I'm Reina Khouri, I'm an artist from Jordan, and I actually have a question for Saint Levant. So I love the vibe that you have with your friends, who are also your team members. What would you suggest, like who are the most important people to have as part of an artist's team?
I'm not gonna say most important, but I'm gonna give you my team. I have the big boss at the top, the manager, and then the manager has his own team as well. And then I have a creative director, and I have an executive producer, and I have an engineer, a sound engineer, and I have a stylist, and I have Ish Kaman Malik. What else do we have? I think photographer, videographer, obviously, but some of these are outsourced, some of them are part of the actual family, and then we're just, merch, we have a booking agent as well. But these things will come as you don't need that to start. Yeah. I had just Henry and Diego last year, that's it. Diego's my videographer. And then these things just kind of came as we grew, So you shouldn't, these positions I'm saying, you don't need any of that at the beginning.
Any last question? Anybody got a question? I want to shout out the other artists in the room. Shout out Nadina, Ruby, shout out Bayou in the room as well. Also part of the new wave.
Legends.